I chose to work in Columbus City Schools because it is the school district that is responsible for my education from K through 12 and is responsible for the education of my children K through 12. And so I have an affinity with the district, and I wanted to come back and contribute because of the experience that I had within the district. I work in a special needs program. So some or one of the most rewarding experiences is just coming in, working with our children who don't have language of any kind and teaching them American Sign Language so that they can communicate with us, and seeing them verbalize when they don't have anything to begin with.
When I get to have my pre-K promotions at the end of the year, you know, the kids are in their caps and gowns and they get to move on to kindergarten, and it's like celebrating everything they've done all year. It's like, it's a great moment every year. It's like, I can look forward to having that memorable moment. I'm the first impression that our parents and caregivers and students have for CCS. I'm that first stepping stone for school. So I feel like I have a lot of impact. Like if I can make their first year with us great, then that sets them up as they continue on. So I'm a big believer in the impact of.
Probably one of my most rewarding was when I received the Channel 10 Classroom Hero. I also was a nominated Teacher of the Year in the Linden area. And just watching children grow and go off to college and come back to me, so that's really exciting. I think the work that I do and the time that I put into each individual children prepares them for the future, prepares them for whether they're going to college or not going to college, just so that they become great citizens.
You know, I came here when I was 18 as an immigrant, and you know, the district, I went here to the district. So as a student, they helped me out, you know, ESL student who don't speak English. So I just felt like the teachers were very helpful, and you know, and now I just want to pay it forward. I just want to help other kids just like how my teachers helped me to be where I'm at today. You know, being the first person to graduate in my family was very hard for me to kind of grasp everything that went to it. But my teachers were there from day one to help every single minute. And one of my teachers even drove me from school to the administration office to make sure that all my papers are in and, you know, everything is set so that I can start school the next Monday. So I felt like that was so poignant, how the teachers cared about the students, their success and things like that. So I just felt like, you know, hey, this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do, you know, just help kids like myself who need help. Because if it wasn't them, I would not be sitting where I'm at right now.
The diversity. There are so many opportunities in Columbus that other small towns don't give you. We have a lot of resources here, but just the diversity of the families and the people that live here.
For the early childhood educator who's considering a career in Columbus City Schools, do it. We will come rally around you, and you start somewhere, but that is not where you end up. We will grow with you, and you will be surprised at the amount of professional growth and personal growth that you will have working with our children in this district.
I'm Abrielle. I'm in 8th grade, and I was wondering, how do you work yourself through a situation where somebody is doubting you because you are a woman?
Someone's doubting you because you are a woman. I think affirmations, what you were saying, Chief Potts, I mean, I think that plays a really big role. And, you know, affirmations start with, it's not just a mantra about how to see the world, but it's a mantra of belief in yourself. So some of the, you know, the best affirmations that I use with myself, or I was talking about kind of that script I tell myself, is they're really personal, right? They're not something I can tell myself every day, but they're really personal. And when I'm feeling particularly like there's a particular challenge or someone's doubting me, especially because I'm a woman, although I can never see in their heads exactly why they're doubting me, they could be doubting me because they're jealous, right? I'm being a little facetious here, but you know, I mean, you can feel like maybe they're doubting me because I'm a woman, or you could feel like maybe they're doubting me because they know that I'm powerful, they know that I'm smart, they know that, right? And that's a kind of script, that's a kind of affirmation where it's about reorienting the problem to recognize your power in surmounting it. It's a bit of a nebulous answer, but I do think so much can come back to how we think about our approach to a problem.
I think the affirmations are critically important. I had to do a kind of a self-painting with an organization that I'm on the board of. We had like a fun time of painting ourselves, and we were supposed to write affirmations, and the ones that came to me is I am strong, I am blessed, and I am empowered. And so, just say something simple like that every day to yourself, or when you're in a challenging situation or doubting yourself.
And I will give you this advice, especially if it's in your face that it's because you're a woman. You confront that man, and you tell him what your accolades are. You tell him where you've been and what you bring to the table, and then he can either take it or leave it. But it's not going to stop you from doing the work that you're sent here to do. And so, eventually, even those who doubt you will see your greatness. And so sometimes you have to confront it, and other times you just let your work speak for itself. And eventually they'll come around.
Sorry, just to add, I know I already spoke, but to add on to that, it's kind of like you will prove them wrong. And I want to cite again the Ketanji Brown Jackson hearings last week, because that's what was happening. She was being doubted because of who she is, right? Because she is a woman, because she is a Black woman. She was being doubted for those specific reasons. And a couple different things happened. First of all, she showed them her power. She spoke powerfully. She proved how unquestionably qualified she is for the role of Supreme Court Justice. And what also happened is people surrounded her with their belief in her, right? So she found folks in the room that did believe in her, that were willing to come. Not that she needed rescued, but everyone needs an aid, right? Everyone needs help. Everyone needs fortified. And obviously Senator Cory Booker's speech will go down in history, I think, as one of really meeting someone where she needs you at that moment, where she needs fortified. So again, her hearings are on my mind and hold so many lessons, I think, for each of us in our own little daily lives.
I think that everything that they've said, maybe a little twist, and it kind of, Dr. Dixon's earlier comments made me think of this. I think we've kind of painted this as a male-female thing, but I'll tell you, sometimes the biggest challenges I've had in my career have been other women. And in particular, women who may be of a different generation than I am. And maybe, had to come through things in a little bit of a different way than I did. And it goes back to Dr. Dixon's point, and we're not lost here, we're at an all-girls school, right? It is tough out there for girls. And the last thing we need is for another girl to not have our backs, right? And so, in those situations, I almost find that a little bit harder to deal with, because I'm like, wait a minute, shouldn't we be helping each other out? But, then, trying to just come back, and for me, it's about trying to understand them, understand their story, understand why they have this perspective, and then try to approach it differently. And then in the end, just prove them wrong. But, it isn't always a male-female thing. Sometimes it can be a girl-on-girl issue.
Hello to our entire Columbus City Schools community. My name is Anthony Miller, and I am a student at South High School. Before we begin tonight's Board of Education business meeting, I invite you to check out these highlights and updates from across the district.
Greetings and welcome to this week's highlights from across the district. Last week, the Center for Healthy Families hosted its first community celebration of the Day of the Girl. There were 250 students from Lyndon McKinley STEM Academy, Mifflin, Marion Franklin, Whetstone, West, and Independence High Schools who attended. Students heard from community leaders who discussed various important topics, including physical and mental health, justice, and education. The day also featured several activities, including art, a girl-led teen summit conversation, and a very energetic pep rally. I also want to highlight some impressive achievements within our district and then share with you some important events we have coming up. Columbus City Schools was featured in the October issue of the National Council of Teachers of English Council Chronicle. In that issue, CCS was recognized for harnessing the power of teacher voice and expertise in creating a wide net of literacy support through schools, families, and the community. A big congratulations goes out to Columbus Alternative High School for being named to the 2023 AP School Honor Roll, earning a bronze distinction. The AP School Honor Roll recognizes schools whose AP program is delivering results and broadening access for students. Last week, Columbus Alternative also was recognized for ranking among the U.S. News and World Report's 2023-2024 Best U.S. High School. Ohio State Representative Ishmael Muhammad visited the school and presented them with a certificate of recognition. Another huge shout out goes out to 2 Columbus City Schools educators who were recently honored at the Ohio Educational Library Media Association Library Conference. Allison Volz, an instructional coach at Livingston Elementary School, was awarded the J. Allen Oakham Scholarship. This scholarship was awarded to an Ohio resident enrolled in an accredited library school program who is pursuing licensure in school library and media. Hannah Green, a teacher librarian within CCS, was honored with the Ohio Educational Library Media Association Intellectual Freedom Award. This award recognizes Ohio School Library Media Specialists and other Ohio educators who demonstrate support for the American Library Association's principles of intellectual freedom. Congratulations to both Allison and Hannah. It has been 1 year since WCBE refreshed its programming to a music-intensive approach with a strong emphasis on support for local musicians and artists. Since this transition was made, WCBE has provided CCS students with real-life working experiences in audio and video production, video switching, and journalism in a professional broadcast environment. Additionally, the CCS Multimedia Team and WCBE received a Mark of Excellence Award from the Ohio School Public Relations Association for its WCBE Transformation PR Marketing Plan video series. WCBE continues its mission to train the next generation of broadcasters, podcasters, and journalists while providing a voice for Central Ohio community organizations, artists, and Columbus City Schools. We are so excited to announce that our Pathway Express program is back. This year's activities kick off this month with free admission to the October 22nd Ohio State University women's soccer match against the University of Michigan. There will be new, unique community-based learning opportunities throughout the school year, leading up to the 2024 summer experience. Programs like Pathway Express and Summer Experience show learning can take place beyond the classroom. To learn more about the new Pathway Express program, visit our website. We can't wait to see you. Lastly, I want to give a big thank you to everyone who supported, prepared, and lent a helping hand during the recent visit from the First Lady of the United States, Dr. Jill Biden. Friday's visit to the Fort Hays Metropolitan Education Center was part of the Biden administration's Investing in America tour. Columbus City Schools is one of 5 school districts that are part of the White House Workforce Hub, supporting Central Ohio for advanced technologies and high-growth industries. Dr. Biden joined a panel discussion with Columbus City Schools alums and several current Columbus State Community College students who shared their perspectives on how their education prepared them for college and careers. This was an exciting experience for the Columbus region and Columbus City Schools, and we were glad for the opportunity to amplify student voice and to share our ongoing work on the Hub. These have been highlights from around the district for October 17th. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. I am calling our meeting on October 17th to order. Please call the roll.
President Adair.
Present.
Ms. Beckerly.
Present.
Mr. Brown.
I'm here.
Mr. Cole.
Excused. I'm sorry.
Dr. Pierce. Ms. Reyes.
Here.
Vice President Vera.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. We have some students who will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. They will please come up to the podium.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we review our agenda, we need to appoint our treasurer pro tempore because our treasurer is not here. So I will move that whereas Ohio Revised Code Section 3313.23 requires a board, when the treasurer is absent from any meeting of the board, to choose one of their members to serve in the treasurer's place pro tempore, and whereas Ms. Vanover, treasurer, is absent for this meeting, now therefore it be resolved that the board appoint Christina Vera, vice president, to serve as treasurer pro tempore in the absence of the treasurer for the duration of this meeting and this meeting only. That is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Vice President Vera.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Board members, on tonight's agenda, we have one speaker here for public participation. We have several items, including policy readings and board matters. We have a report from our superintendent, no report from our executive auditor, treasurer's office. We have one public hearing on reemployment, and we have our consent agenda. We will have an executive session. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, and without objection, the agenda has been adopted. We will now have public comment. We have one speaker. The first speaker is Sade Hervison. Will you please come and tell me how to say your name appropriately? Here to speak on the topic of K-6 Online Academy, the requested action. I want the board to consider keeping the Columbus K-6 Online Academy. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Sade Harvison. I have 3 kids of mine who are students in the district. My youngest, Shakur Hanser, who is a 2nd grader, is a student with the Columbus Online Academy. So yeah, I was just wanted to hope, it was brought to my attention last week that K-6, the COA could be eliminated, which is devastating to me. Shakur was in a brick and mortar school for kindergarten and 1st grade. He had over 20 write-ups each year, kindergarten and 1st grade. He was not socially, emotionally ready for a brick and mortar school. And so he was having a lot of big emotions. I was getting phone calls every day. I was almost always having at the school, having to leave work. So he was, exhibiting behaviors I had never seen until he got into a school building. So once I discovered the online academy, I thought that that could be a great option for us. And now that he has started it, it has been a great change. He is excelling now. A lot of times when I would meet with his teachers when he was in a brick and mortar, they will always tell me that they didn't have enough work to measure where he was academically because he was hardly ever in the classroom. To try to avoid some of his triggers and some of his big blow-ups, a lot of times when I would come to picture court up from school, he would be in the front office coloring, or in the peak room, or he would be suspended. So he was absent a lot. So they would say openly, we don't have enough to measure. Where this year, the quarter, it won't end until October 24th, but he's completed almost like 90% of his assignments. So now they can measure where he is. So I am just afraid that if this gets eliminated, I will be back at square one. I don't know what else I would be able to choose for him because I feel like the traditional classroom failed him. I tried kindergarten, I tried first grade. It was so stressful for he and I, and even he is so excited about, and way more excited about school than he has ever been. When I would drop him off at school, I could see him starting to sink. And as a parent, none of us want that for our children. So when making this decision, I just hope that you think of me, you think of children like Shakur, our families who experience homelessness, our families who have children with illnesses like diabetes, sickle cell, where they are absent out of school a lot because of these illnesses. And I also ask not to eliminate, but maybe change. There's no open enrollment for the school. There's no marketing for the school. So a lot of parents don't even know it exists. So that is all that I ask today, to consider those things.
Thank you so much for coming to advocate. We may have a member of the administration come speak with you. Thank you. Right, board members, we're going to go ahead and move into our board matters. The first item on our agenda is item 5.1, which is the resolution to commemorate National Principals Month. It's 5.1. Board Member Reyes, you have the resolution.
Thank you, President Adair. I move for the resolution to honor, recognize, celebrate National Principals Month, whereas this resolution is to honor, recognize, and celebrate National Principals Month. And principals are educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, adept communicators, budget analysts, facility managers, and special program administrators entrusted with our most valuable resource, our students. The dedication and determination of our principals sets the academic tone for their schools as they work collaboratively with teachers to develop and maintain high curriculum standards and set performance goals and objectives, and work tirelessly to maintain academic accountability to ensure a safe and productive learning environment, and encourage and facilitate teachers' and parents' efforts to make a positive difference in the lives of young people. Each October, School Principals Day honors preschool, elementary, middle, and high school principals and recognizes the importance of school leadership in ensuring that every child is highly educated, prepared for leadership and service, and empowered for success as a citizen in a global community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Columbus Board of Education values and thanks all of our principals and assistant principals throughout the district for their contributions to our spirit of success, helping create a world-class model of public education that prepares members of our communities to reach their full potential. And be it further resolved that the board urge all Columbus residents to express their gratitude to our principals and assistant principals on School Principals Day and recognize the critical role they perform for our students in schools each and every day.
Thank you. That's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Beckerly?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Vice President Vera?
Yes.
President Adair?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And if there's other principals that are here, why don't you come on up to the podium as well, and I'll turn it over to Principal Rodriguez to say a few words, and then Board Member Reyes will, yeah, everyone, come on, you have to come up. They're like, no. They're like, no. All right, we'll go ahead and have her present the resolution to you, and then after, we will take a quick photo.
Good afternoon or evening, President Adair, Vice President Vera, Superintendent Chapman, and all the rest of the Board of Education. On behalf of all of the administrators in the district, whether they're building-based or not building-based, thank you for your continued support of all of our work. Without you, we couldn't make things happen that we need to for our kids. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to take a quick picture. Don't run away. Can't get out of this chair.
Suck it. I'll suck it.
It's like, is that a thing?
Okay, now we're going to go into item 5.2, which is a resolution to adopt our board monitoring calendar. Did you want to say anything about this before we?
Yes, so at the last board meeting, we presented a formal presentation on our board monitoring calendar. As you recall, our board monitoring calendar is the calendar that we use to monitor our goals and guardrails. And so each one of the board goals, each one of the board guardrails are mapped out throughout the calendar of the year. So every month, we're coming to the board table, and the board can expect a report from the superintendent and team on our progress towards meeting the board goals and guardrails. So this is how we communicate to the board, the community, and the district, how we are holding ourselves accountable to monitoring the goals in a public session in our board meetings and making sure that we adhere to what we've promised. So thank you for the opportunity to be very thoughtful and reflective on that calendar. We certainly believe that it reflects the scope and sequence that we should follow for the calendar year.
Thank you. All right, we'll do the motion in the second, and then we will open it for board discussion. Vice President Vera, you have the motion.
Whereas the Columbus City Schools Board of Education will adopt student outcomes focused governance progress monitoring calendar for school year 23-24, school year 24-25, school year 25-26, school year 26-27, school year 27-28, and school year 28-29, the duration of the adopted SOFG goals, and whereas the progress monitoring calendar is a technical tool to establish a cadence of oversight to achieve outcomes and embrace a culture of continuous improvement, and whereas the adoption of the progress monitoring calendar SOFG allows the board to provide effective, timely oversight of the progress towards achieving the board goals and adhering to the board guardrails. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Columbus City School Board of Education hereby adopts the Student Outcomes Focused Governance SOFG Progress Monitoring Calendar for school year 23-24, school year 24-25, school year 25-26, school year 26-27, school year 27-28, and school year 28-29, the duration of the adopted SOFG goals.
It's in motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Vice President Vera?
Yes.
President Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Items 5.3 to 5.9 are all policies. I'm going to turn it over to Board Member Brown, who chairs our Policy Advocacy and Governance Committee. Board Member Brown.
Thank you. The policies here in front of you, in front of us, are all policies that have been discussed with the Policy Committee. And at the meeting we last had to deal with these, we did not have a quorum. However, all of the members of the committee that were there agreed with moving forward with these policies. I will tell you, and I'll go through them one by one, but they're all relatively minor, and it's my anticipation that we can move these and adopt them with a single reading. If anybody has questions or concerns, we can obviously slow that down for any of these policies in particular. Let me describe them all first before we get to into the any discussion. The first in front of you, 4.3, is policy 8400. It's a safety program policy. It's there were a substantial number of changes here, but they're all technical. They're not going to change district practice as it relates to safety. The current policy is simply out of date and not fully legally compliant, and this will bring that into compliance. The second policy is policy 8400.01. That's 4.4. This pertains to the district's continuity of operations plan, and we're recommending that this be rescinded because we've adopted a policy a few years ago that is more recent on precisely the same topic. We're recommending rescission because this is duplicative, and we're recommending that we go with the version that is more recently adopted. Staff concur with our recommendation here. The third, item 4.5, refers to policy 0156, appointment of legal advisors. There's nothing wrong with the policy, but we want to recommend deletion of two words, general and, so that it would read, it's too dry in here for my fingers to work. The board may appoint legal advisors to serve as counsel for specific projects. And that's simple enough. The next would be item 4.6, and that pertains to policy 2413 on career advising. And this is simply updating to bring our current policy up to date legally to reflect our current district practice. We're also required by statute to update the policy every 2 years. So this is, again, it's a matter of compliance. And next would be 4.7 and 4.8, and I'll describe these together since they're identical, with the exception of first applying to professional staff and the second applying to classified staff. These are our drug-free workplace policies, and the only changes we're making is to include language on medical marijuana and prohibit it in the same way, in the same places as we do other substances that are substances of abuse. It also clarifies what we mean by workplace and all of the places where substance of abuse, including marijuana, cannot be used by our employees. And finally, the sixth of these is 4.9, related to policy 8650, transportation by a school van. And all this does is to change the age requirement for drivers. The policy had read drivers need to be 18 years old. We're updating that to 21 years old, which has already been our current practice. That's the only change there. So with that, are there any questions on any of these?
All right, let's go through them more formally to do the votes and the questions. So we will start with 5.3, which is the amendment to board policy 8400. I will go ahead and make a motion to approve and waive first reading for second reading.
Correct.
Yes, I will make that motion. Is there a second?
And go ahead.
Second.
We have a second.
There's a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Vice President Vera.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Okay, we have item 5.4, first reading of rescission of board policy 8400.01.
And I move approval.
I second.
Do you want to waive the reading?
And yes, waive second reading and adopt the policy tonight.
Do you amend your second, Dr. Pierce? Okay, questions?
I just want to state that I have no problem with these policies per se, but I think that there's a philosophy that we're not honoring in terms of student outcomes focused governance, which is certain policies should be administrative and not board policies. They have a much narrower scope. So I just wanted to be on the record that we're not adhering to that advice of the council and the concept that board policies should be limited to that which is necessary by law or that is necessary to achieve the goals or adhere to the guardrails. But other than that, I mean, I don't think we need to discuss. I just want to make that point. Okay. We've made it before. We've talked about it before.
Sure.
Other comments?
Go ahead.
No other comments. Call the roll.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Vice President Vera.
Yes.
President Adair.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 5.5, first reading of amendment to board policy 0156.
I move that we approve this and waive the second reading and adopt the policy tonight.
Second.
It's been a motion, a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Vice President Vera.
Yes.
President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 5.6, first reading of amendment to board policy 2413.
Again, this policy on career advising. I'm recommending that we approve the policy, waive the second reading, and adopt the policy tonight.
Second.
It's been a motion, a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Vice President Vera.
Yes.
President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Item 5.7, first reading of amendment to board policy 3122.01.
I move that we approve this policy and waive second reading, adopt the policy tonight.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Vice President Vera.
Yes.
President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 5.8, first reading of amendment to Board Policy 4122.01.
I move that we approve this policy. It's identical to the one we just adopted. And waive second reading, adopt the policy tonight.
It's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Vice President Vera.
Yes.
President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And our last one, item 5.9, first reading of amendment to Board Policy 8650.
I move that we adopt this policy tonight, waiving the second reading. I move approval and recommend the policy.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Vice President Vera.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Board Member Brown. All right, we're going to move into item 6, which is our executive report from our superintendent. Madam Superintendent, turning it to you.
Good evening, President Adair, Vice President Vera, members of our board, and members of our community. It is a pleasure to be here with you all this evening at Independence High School for our board meeting. Tonight, we have 2 presentations to share with the board and the community. The first presentation will be highlights from Region 2. You'll hear from the area superintendent, our principal, Dr. Toller, and several of his students from Independence High School, the student ambassadors, and we have some special guests from one of our elementary schools in the feeder pattern today. But before we jump into our presentations, I would like to highlight an event from earlier today. This morning, I was honored to stand alongside our city and community leaders to sign the We Got Us pledge. Safety is a collective responsibility, and today we locked arms as a community to address a common goal: investing in the safety and well-being for all of our students and residents of Columbus. There were also student representatives who joined me. Fina Kane, an 11th grader from Columbus Afrocentric Early College, and Aaliyah Chenault, an 11th grader from Columbus Online Academy, who spoke to why this pledge is needed and why it's needed right now. This represents a commitment to our students, our families, and our community as we work towards a safer and brighter future. We are grateful for everyone who came out for today's press conference as we made that commitment together. Our students and families will learn more in the coming weeks about how they can join us in our efforts to take a stand against gun violence and sign the We Got Us pledge. Now, let's get into our presentations for this evening. First, we will hear from Stephanie Patton, who will be coming up to the mic, our area superintendent for Region 2. Stephanie Patton will give us an overview of the region, share some data and highlights from the region, and talk about achievement in the region in relationship to our board goals. She will then introduce us to 3 students from Liberty Elementary School: Miriam Karoma, a 5th grader, Aaliyah Brim, a 4th grader, and Josiah Poydras, a 5th grader. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Donis Toller, the head principal here at Independence. Dr. Toller will highlight the school and talk about cultural shifts. We'll also hear from our superintendent student ambassadors from Independence High School. Those superintendent student ambassadors that are here with us this evening are Joelle Kitt and Michaela Kitt. They will share their experiences and also talk briefly about their work in the Superintendent Student Ambassador Program. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Stephanie Patton.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. Good evening, Board President Adair, Vice President Vera, board members, Internal Auditor O'Connor, and Dr. Chapman. I am Stephanie Patton, and I have the honor to share highlights from Region 2 this evening for your report. In Region 2, we serve almost 7,000 students. 65% of these students are African American, with Hispanic Latino being the second largest demographic at 18%. 62% of our students attend their home address assigned school. We take great pride in that, with 18% of our students receiving special education services and 20% are English language learners. As a region, we collaboratively developed our vision, mission, and core values through identifying our current state, our ideal state, and what strategies and action steps are needed to fill in the gaps. I'll share our vision. We envision Region 2 as a realm where academic excellence stands as the foundation of every student's journey. We aspire to instill creativity and champion rigorous education, propelling students toward both academic success and career readiness. Tonight, we will focus on the board goal number 1, strengthen reading proficiency. This data shows kindergarten iReady reading scores from last year iReady assessments. Student performing on or above grade level increased from 15% at the beginning of the year to 63% at the end of the year, according to the iReady assessments. Students performing below grade level decreased from 85% at the beginning of the year to 36% at the end of the year. This shows growth among the students throughout the school year. At the beginning of last year, third graders were at 16% on or above grade level. And this school year, according to the iReady beginning of the year assessment, 20% of our third graders are on or above grade level. So this means that the strategies that we are starting to put in place are making an impact on student growth. We also implement Tier 1, meaning school-wide, attendance plans in every school building. What this has done has allowed us to decrease the chronic absenteeism rate from last school year to this school year by 8.9%. With the implementation of instructional strategies, our 2023 state report card, we had several schools scoring at a 3.5 stars or better in the 3 categories of overall, progress, and gap closing. We had Columbus City Preparatory School for Girls and Oakmont with 4 out of 5 stars overall. We have Columbus City Prep for Girls and East Haven and Oakmont with 5 out of 5 stars on progress. And we have Oakmont and Old Orchard with 5 out of 5 stars for gap closing. Here are some of the Region 2 strategies that we are implementing that are starting to show us results in achievement and growth. We conduct literacy learning walks where we monitor fidelity of curriculum implementation and effective instructional strategies through feedback to our school principals and to our teachers that impact teaching and learning. Matriculation through a multi-tiered support system at all grade levels, pre-K through 12, and community partnerships. 2 examples of our community partnerships are Fairmore Elementary School and T. Marzetti, where our students show the Portrait of a Graduate attributes, and they were invited with their families to the T. Marzetti Innovation Center for Research and Product Development. They participated with their families in project-based learning. T. Marzetti also donated bikes and school uniforms and continue to be a partner with Fairmore Elementary School. Our second elementary school in partnership is Woodcrest and Intel, where Intel hosted a 3-day camp for pre-K through 5th grade students who were able to use essential skills that involve design thinking, importantly, embracing mistakes, and collaboration. This was a great success, and it exposed our students to jobs of the future in the technology field. Next, I would like to introduce students from Liberty Elementary School, where they will highlight their school success.
Good evening, Board President Adair, Vice President Vera, and board members. My name is Mariam, and I am a 5th grader at Liberty, home of the Liberty Lions. At Liberty, students lead the way. I'm going to talk about academics. Our teachers have high expectations for our learning. We learn grade level standards, and they make it relevant to us by connecting our learning to real life. Through student discourse and different question stems, we are pushed to think outside of the box and stretch our thinking. We are pushed to be creative. We learn in whole groups, small groups, and spend at least 3 times a week getting interventions to help us learn skills we have not mastered. We use iReady to track our growth in reading, math, and set goals to make sure we are growing.
Good evening, my name is Aaliyah and I am a 4th grader at Liberty. At our school, we do a lot of cool things to keep learning fun and interesting, such as using manipulatives in math, whiteboards in reading, Chromebooks, experiments, field trips, book clubs, and the list goes on. We have many opportunities to be leaders through clubs and committees. For example, there's an African American male SEL and literature group with our counselor, Mrs. Hooper. Several students are a part of the garden club where we not only have a love for gardening, but learn a lot about the environment. That's just 2 examples. I think the more we are engaged, the more we learn.
Hello, my name is Josiah. I'm a 5th grade at Liberty. Lots of people are responsible for helping us learn and grow. As our principal, Ms. Roach, always say, it takes a village, life-wise center without walls, after-school program, directions for youth, and road yoga are a few community partners that help us to learn and grow. Feed the kids. Columbus provides snacks to us during the day and holiday breaks to make sure we have healthy snacks. I cannot forget that Independence High School students, leaders come over to tour us, read for us, and help us learn math facts. Thank you for your time.
They are awesome and did a wonderful job and so well spoken. We are really proud of them in Region 2 for us, so thank you guys. And also at Yorktown, we partner with Moody Nolan architecture firm, and this is in our middle schools, again, to expose them to STEM careers and to also introduce and help them strengthen project-based learning and to prepare them for jobs in the future. And so with that, next, I will turn it over to Dr. Toller, who will talk a little bit about our high school in Region 2.
Good evening, Board of Education, President Adair, Vice President Vera, board members. Thank you for inviting me, as well as Dr. Chapman. My name is Dr. Toller, Principal, Independence High School. Before I get started, I'd like to introduce my administration team, Ms. Allen, Mr. Hayward, and Dr. Amar Al-Sharafi. We, the Independence High School community, believe all students can learn and schools do make a difference. We strive to create and maintain an atmosphere of high expectations and a nurturing and caring environment. All students will have the opportunity to develop socially as well as academically. Our matriculation team that meets every Tuesday, we have a dashboard that covers all grades 9 through 12 with emphasis on Tier 2 and Tier 3 students. This helps us keep track of our on-track and off-track students so that we can link each adult in our building with a student to make sure that they can matriculate each year and every year so that they can graduate in 4 years. In this team, we wouldn't be where we are right now without these group of people. We have an excellent graduation coach who meets with students and teachers to help with graduation requirements. Our transition coordinator meets with students, staff, and parents to develop interventions and goals for students. We had a freshman swag, which is scholars with academic goals, with a focus on goal setting, mentoring, and interventions. Junior Credentialing Week, something that got piloted last year. It will occur in the spring of this year. And what it is our juniors were able to spend time earning seals by completing a series of tasks that involved kickoff and rewards. So what it was, we had a lot of businesses come in for internship hours. We have folks that were already credentialed in forklift. We worked with Lindsay Honda. We worked with Mid-Ohio Food Bank. We worked with other companies and brought them here to make sure that our juniors can get the credentialing that they need in order to be on track when they hit their senior year. The Junior Step Up event. This is a new ceremony created by our student Zion Tubbs that allows juniors to step into the senior year with support from admin and teachers while taking a pledge to stay on track. And finally, with our APEX program, we want to provide ample opportunities while creating an environment for students to be successful. We've been offering APEX labs before, during break, during winter break, and also as well as spring break, as well as so carrying into the summertime as well, which helps us really, increase our graduation rate for the year. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce two of our superintendent student ambassadors, Joelle and Michaela Kitt. At this point in time, they will be talking about student leading the way, in particular critical thinking and creativity. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michaela Kitt, and I'm a 10th grader and superintendent student ambassador here at Independence.
Hi, my name is Joelle Kitt. I am also a sophomore and a superintendent student ambassador. Here at Independence, each student is highly educated and prepared for leadership and services and empowered for success as a citizen in a global community.
Independence offers many electives and courses that challenge and inspire. We are building our new business pathway to help forge future CEOs.
Independence offers classes that are practical and purposeful. The classes allow us to stretch and grow academically, and they require us to create relationships without our teachers.
From comfortable learning environments to dedicated and nurturing counselors and social workers, Independence really does care about the whole entire student.
Independence High School staff are the best. Our teachers dedicate our academic and personal growth. To show their school spirit, they dress up as students, show up at our games, and communicate with our parents. They also stay late after school to help us with homework or just about anything else that we need.
One thing that makes Independence great is clubs. We have a lot of clubs, like cooking clubs, esports club, gardening club, chess club, pottery club, hair braiding club. Name it, I guarantee you have it. It's awesome because we get to make new friends, have fun, and hang out.
At Independence, we have championship-level sports. Just last year, we won the City League South Championships in football, baseball, and track.
At Independence High School, we show our pride in the eye with our integrity, intelligence, and involvement.
We believe that accountability and integrity go hand in hand. A sixer does the right thing, especially when it's hard.
At Independence, we value all intelligence, like academics intelligence, sports intelligence, and art intelligence.
Sixers are involved in their classes and their communities. Lastly, in addition to lifting district capability in our building, increasing student voice is our aim. This year, as superintendent student ambassadors, we are partnering with OSU Student Leadership Research Collaborative to actively address district issues and concerns through research-driven problem solving. We will meet on campus of OSU and Columbus State and have the opportunities to collaborate with students all across Central Ohio. We're so excited.
Anyways, that concludes our student ambassador report. Thank you.
And it is with those characteristics of the portrait of a graduate, our strong parental support to make sure that their students were here and that the students were leading the way. We turn it over to you, Dr. Chapman. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are the parents here tonight? Any parents that are here of our students from Liberty? Please stand and be recognized. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Thank you for sharing your students with us. And we recognize leadership potential when we see it. And so we're already recruiting them to be like our high school students as superintendent student ambassadors when they get to high school. So know that the experiences that they are having today in school and being here tonight at the board meeting are preparing them for future leadership experiences. So it's certainly our goal to continue to nurture them and nurture their leadership skills. But thank you for being here with us and for continuing to show your support. We appreciate you. To our superintendent student ambassadors, Joelle and Michaela, let's give it up for them again. We certainly appreciate your leadership. I was here a few months ago, Dr. Toller, in the cafeteria recruiting students for the Superintendent Student Ambassador Program, and I was making a list saying, make sure we get our students involved. But I know you all were a little nervous, and please know that sometimes as adults, we're a little nervous up here too, talking in front of the microphone and in front of large groups. So just know that the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll be, and we certainly appreciate your efforts to be here with us tonight and share your story and your experience as a Sixer. So thank you very much. And Dr. Toller and Stephanie, thank you for sharing your presentation. President Adair, I'll turn it over to you if you have any questions for this portion of the presentation, and then we'll be prepared to transition to our next presentation.
Board members, do you have any questions or comments? Board Member Beckerly.
I actually don't have a question about this comment, so I would like to mention something about this morning's event that Dr. Chapman spoke at, so after we finish this.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Vice President Vera.
So I just want to say thank you all. Thank you, students. Thank you, leadership, for just presenting what you've presented. I've experienced the Sixter energy. Every time I come in your building, I see your programs in action. And you didn't highlight it, but last year there was a basketball tournament for attendance. I believe that had a part of it. And so just the creativity that your team thinks through to engage your students, I just want to let you know that we see that and we appreciate it. And just thank you for the opportunity to be here with you tonight.
Actually, I do have something about this.
Okay. Rebecca.
I'm sorry I wear you out.
Go ahead.
I did want to mention that I really appreciated the growth because that's significant and that's something to take credit for and be proud of. And it's also what we need to be focusing on because that's how you know you're improving. So thank you for sharing that and thank you for achieving it.
Thank you. And now we will transition to our second presentation tonight, which is on restorative practices. Our restorative practices program within Columbus City Schools has shown great progress and promise. The aim is to provide the tools needed to strengthen our relationships and community while ensuring a healthy, inclusive, and safe learning environment for all. The program aligns with the board goals and guardrails, which include an interim progress goal under guardrail number 2. Prioritize a whole child focus related to job-embedded professional development and coaching in restorative practices with an expectation to design and scale by 2026. Here to tell us a little bit more about the program and share with us some progress is Dr. Liz McNally, who is the Executive Director of Whole Child Supports.
Good evening, President Adair, Vice President Vera, members of the board, Internal Auditor O'Connor, and Dr. Chapman. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening about our progress with restorative practices. Thank you for inviting me to share this exciting progress that has been made with restorative practices this year. First, we'll start with the why behind the board's choice to prioritize restorative practices in the district, briefly review the district's restorative practices journey, and finally share our plans for the future. First, I want to take a moment to level set on why we began this journey and how restorative practices aligns with our board goals. Study after study clearly identified that racial inequality in discipline practices fuel racial disparities in long-term outcomes for young people of color, including in graduation rates and disproportionate contact with the justice system. Combine this with increased rates of anxiety and depression among school-aged children, and it becomes clear we must be committed to reducing reliance on suspensions in favor of alternative practices. With this commitment, we are responsible for better preparing educators who need alternative tools and strategies to prevent disciplinary problems and provide fair interventions when they do occur. The district is fortunate to receive student wellness funds to support the academic, social, emotional, and mental health needs of our students. In alignment with the new requirement to share how we use these funds, we are proud to share that these dollars will help to fund our school social workers and school psychologists who are supporting the mental and behavioral health needs of students to address appropriate interventions and supports. This benefits students, families, and staff because when the mental and behavioral health needs of students are met, students are better able to function better at home and school, which increases a teacher's ability to provide relevant instruction. Prior to discussing our current restorative practices plan, we will share our journey with restorative practices that began in CCS in 2016-2017. In school year 2016 and 2017, school district representatives engaged in a series of community engagement listening tours, leading to the formation of a district discipline committee to review the disproportionate number of office referrals and suspensions related to students of color and students identified as needing special education services. Recommendations from this committee included the development of a plan for designing and scaling the implementation of restorative practices and trauma-informed practices in the district. In the 2017-2018 school year, with board support, an initial trainer cohort of 36 staff members were trained through the International Institute of Restorative Practices. I'll call them IIRP as we go on. This plan was developed to provide restorative practices, or RP, training to various staff and buildings. In 2018, CCS co-sponsored a community summit called Breaking the School to Prison Pipeline and Restoring Our City with the BREAD organization and IIRP at the Arts Impact Middle School. Also during this time, many schools were approved for school quality improvement grant dollars for culture and climate. Therefore, individual schools began taking steps to provide training and coaching using various private consultants. These individualized approaches to restorative practices and trauma-informed practices continued into school year 2020. However, the restorative practices expansion was paused during the pandemic. In 2021, the board approved board goals and guardrails, which include an interim progress goal under Guardrail 2, prioritizing a whole child focus related to job-embedded professional development and coaching in restorative practices with an expectation to design and scale by 2026. During school year 22-23, the board began working with AJ Crable, who began a 2-year pilot of student-led restorative practices with 4 of our high schools. In year 1 of the pilot, 33 students and 72 staff members at those 4 high schools were trained. In addition, a number of district-level staff were also trained for a total of 201 staff members throughout the district, including the superintendent, the CEA president, community partners, certificated and classified staff. Throughout the summer and this year, as we are navigating year 2, we are continuing to train adults and students at these 4 schools. We are now up to nearly 90 students in the 4 schools having been trained, as well as adult trainings this week with others scheduled throughout the year. We're going to show a brief video on our student-led restorative practices, and then we'll jump back into our IIRP restorative practices.
In the library at Walnut Ridge High School, a group of students are getting to know each other. They call themselves the Swarm.
Every time we're coming, we're going to swarm you with this embrace of positive knowledge. We're going to swarm you with just love.
The conversation ranges from light topics such as what is their favorite food to more intimate questions like what emotions are they feeling today and do you feel like your voice is heard amongst peers. Students are leading the way through student-led restorative practices with the purpose of improving the culture and climate in schools and growing connections while enhancing communication.
I think that that's very invaluable to promoting a healthy school culture, because having it so that the students can resolve their own conflicts can be much more fulfilling than just having a teacher tell you how to do something.
Hunter Praze is participating in his first restorative circle, one of 3 key strategies that creates a healthy and equitable space for students to communicate and connect with one another.
The idea behind restorative practices is that we're constantly looking for how can we have the response to whatever behavior we experience be one that calls people into a sense of community.
Columbus City Schools is in year 2 of the pilot program. With help and guidance from restorative practice coach A.J. Crapel, students at Walnut Ridge, Briggs, Beechcroft, and Mifflin High School are learning how to facilitate conversations, which can lead to better relationships and communication between peers and teachers in the building. Student-led restorative practices focuses on 3 categories of circles: community-led circles, a proactive circle that leads to connection and community building; mediation circles, a restorative conversation used for conflict resolution; and restorative circles, a process where a person who was harmed and the person who has harmed come together with others who have been affected to discuss what happened.
It's really empowering to me to be able to have people come in and have a problem and you can solve it.
Jamari Flushman held her first mediation circle last year, helping a fellow student resolve a conflict with a teacher and avoid suspension.
I got in trouble before I was in restorative practice. When I got in trouble, I could have been suspended and not being able to play in a game on Friday, but we did the practice and did the restorative circle, and I actually had a lot more time to recover myself, and I actually got to play in a game on Friday.
Jatai Wright is now participating in student-led restorative practices as a student leader and hopes to use his story to help other students resolve conflicts.
A lot of kids, I don't really see them get in a lot of trouble that much no more. Matter of fact, a lot of kids look forward to being in a restorative circle.
We aren't going to police our way to greatness. We're either going to invest in the capacity of our students and give them the tools they need in their toolbox to really be great on their own terms, or we are deluding ourselves that the culture and climate is ever meaningfully going to change, that we will temporarily suspend children into submission, but we won't educate them into their own greatness.
In the summer of 2023, members of senior leadership, including Dr. Chapman, created a vision for restorative practices in CCS when they attended their 2-day IIRP training. This vision focused on the importance of the true definition of restorative practices, the science of relationships and community at every level of our organization, asking the district leaders take the first steps toward this new model, and that through starting this journey with leadership, we will move into a more restorative framework with our schools, rather than dictating to our schools, which is a critical distinction in the restorative practices community. Next, we'll discuss next steps in our restorative practices journey. During school year 23-24, the Office of Whole Child Supports is increasing the capacity to train all schools in the IIRP model of restorative practices by increasing the number of train the trainers who will be able to lead the work in schools as we move into next summer. Our timeline focused on starting this fall to offer multiple opportunities to take the 2-day Intro to Restorative Practices training, which is being offered to our district leaders and department supervisors, school social workers, school counselors, and K-12 peak instructional assistants. Then this spring, staff members will have an opportunity to move into the 3-day Train the Trainer sessions. With this great expansion in the number of staff who are able to be RP trainers, we plan to implement 2-day Intro to Restorative Practice trainings in each school over the summer, with the ultimate goal of ensuring that we start school year 24-25 with all schools having an opportunity to train, with ongoing training scheduled throughout next year. Toward this goal, in September, we were able to train 153 staff members from across the district at 5 different sites around the city. Just last week, 45 staff members took their next steps on this journey after having participated in the 2-day training by engaging in the 3-day Train the Trainer experience, including me, Later this week, we will train approximately 70 additional staff and community members as we continue to offer additional opportunities for the 2-day Introduction to Restorative Practices, not just on these occasions, but throughout the fall and winter, with upcoming additional 3-day Train the Trainers scheduled as well. We are also happy to share that members of our faith-based community will also be joining us at these trainings as they train alongside staff members as we work toward creating restorative communities. Through these and additional upcoming trainings so far this fall, we are excited to share that we have more than doubled the number of people who have had the initial 2-day restorative practices training to nearly 400 staff members, more than doubled the number of restorative practice train the trainers to nearly 90, more than doubled the number of students trained in student-led restorative practices from year 1 to year 2. Through collaboration with our faith-based partners, we have been able to begin training community members as we are being invited to use the congregational spaces as training sites, and we are honored to branch out into our community. We'd also love to thank our partners at the Metro Parks for providing us beautiful spaces to engage in this important work. We will conclude this update with a quick video on the IIRP restorative practices updates in Columbus City Schools with another brief video.
Restorative practices is a framework that is centered around building community, nurturing relationships, and repairing harm. So our hope is that everyone will be really compelled by the vision. Our goal is to create safe spaces for our families, for our staff members, and also for our students through these restorative practices. Just even in spending the last 2 days, I've already begun to see the impact that this framework, this way of being, has had on the ways in which we are relating to each other, even as colleagues. I just think it allows everybody the opportunity to repair harm and to have that sense of power and self-efficacy in their own lives. So, and it allows all of us the opportunity to do better.
I'm here to talk about restorative practices that we use in our particular building at World Language Middle School, specifically with a program that we've initiated called the Reentry Circle. It's a restorative practice that's allowing us to be able to build relationships with our parents and home, to be able to bring in students that have been removed from the building through suspension, and bring them in for a discussion to be able to help build them up, to help them to be able to change whatever behavior that allowed them to get removed in the first place. We feel like this is a practice that could restore those relationships between the parent and the home.
I appreciate your willingness to share your time today and look forward to responding to any questions you may have.
Sharing this progress and update, I'll also like to remind the board that earlier in the meeting tonight, item 4.2 in board matters, we just voted on the board monitoring calendar. And you'll note, if you glance at that calendar, according to the calendar, a formal report on our progress towards this guardrail will be provided in April. But we know that we've got lots of questions about what's happening with restorative practices, so we wanted to provide a preliminary update in terms of some of the changes and the transitions that have happened over the summer, lots of investment and training. And so we'll be back, Dr. McNally will be back in April, and so there'll be lots of other additional opportunities to learn with us throughout the year and receive an official report according to our board monitoring calendar in April. But at this time, we'll entertain any questions that you may have.
What I heard was you don't want monitoring questions.
We're not monitoring tonight. We are providing an update.
Yes. All right. Oh, we do have questions. We're going to start with Board Member Reyes and then go to Board Member Beckerly.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for your presentation. So these questions will kind of center a little bit around ELL. So I was just wondering how we address the issue of language, but most importantly, the cultural differences, because there are a lot of cultural issues that occur that may not align with some of the practices here in the United States. So if you could kind of address the language issue and the cultural issue.
Yep. So restorative practices is 80% proactive and positive. So building those relationships with our students and our families and our communities helps us to better understand cultural differences because we're having those personal relationships. So first, the most important thing that we can do is build those relationships so that we're better able to navigate when misunderstandings do occur. Specifically to your question too about cultural language differences, you just heard from School Counselor Mobley at World Language. When we have students who may be experiencing a reentry circle, we often provide translators, if needed, for our families so they can fully engage in that practice together.
Have we ever had a restorative circle where the Spanish speakers can be together with the French speakers? Because in my experience in utilizing translators, which is great,
yes.
There's a lot that's lost in translation and sometimes frustrates the individual speaking the primary language.
So thank you for your question. Yes, we are beginning to explore that. Remember, this year is our first year. This is going to be a long-term progress. This is going to be a long-term goal as we work toward this. Our first step is really this year focusing on getting our adults to have new skill sets under their belts. But yes, as we begin to really move into more and more circles, which we are just barely touching the ice on right now, the idea will be how do we make sure that we create systems to make sure that we're doing that really efficiently and effectively for all of our community members.
And for the community partners piece, will you be reaching out, because I know that we're in the very beginning, would this be included with like the Columbus City School community partner list?
We could certainly revisit that, yes.
And then lastly, with any of these, I know you probably want to do these in person, but is virtual an option for folks that, especially once we start getting into maybe sharing some sort of these practices with our parents, would virtual restorative practices be available?
So IIRP does have online modules for those opportunities. The pandemic changed how we did everything across the world, so they did create online opportunities that look like that. We are really focusing right now on our face-to-face opportunities. It's really important in those spaces to create that sense of community. There are requirements on ratios, so making sure that we maintain our smallish community so that we can really engage in the work and build that space over the 2-day or 3-day period is super important. But certainly as we continue to roll out this practice and we gain momentum, there is always going to be a need to make sure that we offer differentiated opportunities to meet all of the needs of our community.
Thank you.
Member Beckerly. This is all very exciting. And it's really exciting to see the seriousness and the commitment and the focus that we're spending on the restorative practices. And I just want to, I'll work in my comment about this morning here. This morning when Dr. Chapman spoke at the We Got Us press event, she spent quite a bit of time talking about how important restorative practices are and how much we're focusing on it as part of what the community needs to be doing. So, the integration and the intentionality is really a wonderful thing, a joy to see. And I guess my only question is, and this is sort of thinking forward to the guardrail aspect of this and the monitoring session is, we sort of have a tendency to focus on what we've done and not what we need to do to hit our goal. And so I'd like to see, and I don't mean to detract at all from what we've done because it's wonderful, but just at this rate, how much can we expect? How many buildings will be fully restorative practice buildings?
Yes, and Board Member Beckerly, we are in the process of revising that particular guardrail.
Have leading indicators.
And so we will have clear progress measures towards the goal, but we believe, just so you know, managing our expectations, that we can go further faster because we have shifted the way we are approaching this work. And so our goal, our guardrail for, as it currently stands, will look differently because we are already ahead of where we would have been if we keep this current, the way it's currently framed. So we're working on revising that.
And just because that's important conceptually, mindset-wise, are we on track, are we off track, you know, and holding everybody accountable and having everybody have clarity about where we are and where we aren't. And so I think that's really critical, and I'm happy to hear that. And the more we are able to do this, and I have a feeling that we may be leading our community, because we might be like this ground zero of becoming a restorative practices community. So that's just my hope. And one other quick thing. I also want to commend the grown-ups who are leading this themselves, are walking this walk themselves. You know, part of the video had the grown-ups in the practice, and I know that there have been times, Dr. Chapman, when you've stopped and said, let's have a circle. And I think that's, when we're living it and walking that walk, the kids will catch on that much quicker. So thank you. Thank you, thank you.
May I also add, we all, continue to say student outcomes don't change until
adult behavior
changes. So really and truly leading this work with our adults has been transformational to it. There have been people that have been carrying this. I call them my torch carriers since 2016 and 2017. Right. And I want to thank them all. If anyone's watching on Facebook or out there, they've truly been carrying the restorative practices torch, and we want to lift them up and thank them as we're now able to move on fully together.
Terrific, thank you.
Dr. Chapman, I know that Board Member Berkeley brought up the event today. Could you just quickly tie in how our restorative practices program and goals fit within initiatives like the We Got Us pledge that City Council and NAACP are promoting right now?
Yes. Are there any more questions for Dr. McNally?
No, I have another one for you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. McNally.
Thank you.
So first, I was also going to talk about the event that we have planned for tomorrow evening as well. So this morning, we participated in an event with the City of Columbus, the Columbus branch of the NAACP, to really stand together as a community and say, we are the ones that are going to, we're counting on each other. We are the ones that need to stand up to work together to address the needs in our community and be responsive to what we're seeing, whether it's in our neighborhoods, in our communities, on our streets, or in our schools and in our classrooms. And that's taking a stand against gun violence. And so we are certainly committed to making sure that we engage with our community and get everyone to sign the pledge. And this morning, I talked about one of the ways as a district, as teachers and leaders in CCS, that we are working with our students to give them the tools in their toolbox to resolve their conflicts amicably, build relationships in their classrooms with their peers, with their adults that are working with them, whether that be the teachers, principals, counselors, build relationships in their homes, and that is restorative practices. Restorative practices is certainly for the adults, but it is also for the students. Restorative practices is for everyone to approach building relationships. As Dr. McNally said, it's 80% proactive. We're not waiting until something happens to begin teaching our students the skills that they need. We're doing this work in advance. We, as a board, superintendent, we participate in a restorative practice circle at our meeting at Mifflin High School. So this work is work for everyone. It's work that is accessible. We are certainly preparing and providing training and professional development to all of our staff, whether they're in central office, school-based assignments, our teachers, counselors, social workers, custodians, bus drivers, you name it, everyone, 9,000 employees. When Dr. McNally showed that vision, the hope is for our entire school community to be really invested in restorative practices. When we are talking with a parent, when we are talking with each other, when we are talking with a community member, we want the conversation to feel restorative in nature. And so this work is certainly very near and dear to my heart. Again, that's why we have accelerated our investment in this strategy, and we look forward to any opportunity to stand with our community to share how we as teachers and leaders in CCS are preparing our students. But we know that our students are not just in our schools. They go home to a community, and we want them to have the skills that are transferable, whether they're in a classroom, in a school, at a rec center, at a playground, whether they're supervised or unsupervised. We want them to have the skills and resources that they need so that they can be independent. That's what we want for our students, and be able to resolve their conflicts, and that's certainly for the students as well as for the adults. And tomorrow night, we are partnering with the City of Columbus and the Columbus Dispatch to host a community town hall meeting at the main library. That event is from 4 to 6. It's up on the screen. And this is a community town hall meeting to talk about gun violence in the community and how we are addressing that. This will be another opportunity for us to talk about our restorative practices strategy, student-led restorative practices. This will be an opportunity for our community members to hear from our students, our CCS students. Earlier today, I had 2 of our students with us who joined me. They shared their lived experience. They talked about their experience with trauma, their experience with grief, their experience with gun violence. And so tomorrow night will be another opportunity, different format, to continue the conversation with our community and share strategies. So we always want our community members, our students to feel empowered, and we also want them to know that there are tools and resources that they can rely on.
Dr. Chapman, about a month ago, you presented a factual presentation about what would happen if our levy passes or if it fails. And on the information that is on the district website in the factual presentation, if issue 11 fails under the general operating fund reductions, you have listed as a non-personnel line item that would have a greatly diminished programming for restorative practices training. Can you talk about that impact on what Dr. McNally was talking about, the future of this program?
Yes, so certainly, it is our hope and desire, because of all the needs that we've just discussed, right? We want to accelerate this strategy. We want to provide more capacity for administrators and staff members throughout the district to have this training. We want to expand the pilot of student-led restorative practices that's currently happening at 4 of our schools. We have 113 schools across our district. This should absolutely be in all of our schools. But we know in order to do that, we need investments and we need resources to make that happen. Certainly time is a factor, but also resources to make sure that we have the resources available to pay the staff that are providing the training and the hours and the time to make it happen. So certainly, if the ballot initiative is not successful, this is one of the strategies that we will not be able to go as far and as fast as we would like. We will have to actually pull back a bit and slow down that progress. And so it will significantly be impacted, which is not the hope, that's not the desire, but certainly, as we'll have to make some tough decisions.
And would that impact student outcomes?
Absolutely. As Dr. McNally mentioned at the beginning of her presentation, this strategy is grounded in evidence-based research, years of research. So this is not a new strategy. It's not new to CCS. It's not new to the Columbus community, but this is a research evidence-based strategy that has proven to increase student engagement, decrease suspensions and expulsions, and have a significant impact on how students engage with their peers, increase their social emotional learning skills, and there's also outcomes for adults. So we're not only investing in the needs of our students, but also investing in the needs of our staff and now our community.
Thank you. Dr. Pierce, did you have a question?
I have more of a call to action. So thank you, Dr. Chapman, for representing our district and going to that press conference and joining with our community partners to take that pledge. We've made a commitment to our community, to our students in our district, that the safety of our students is important. That their well-being matters, and our community has stepped up in this moment, developed the pledge, and given us a seat at the table by inviting us to participate in this. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend. I have read the pledge, would like to take the pledge, and so we have some staff members who are making copies of that. So I guess the point of action is that we, in this moment, take a moment to sign that pledge and to make our commitment as a board that we stand with our community partners, that the safety and security of our students, our community is important to us, and that we take the action to do that right now.
Thank you, Dr. Pierce. When we get those, we will certainly sign.
Excellent. They're coming.
All right.
There's a QRL.
Dr. Chapman, do you have anything else?
No, I did one more announcement. I just wanted to share that some of our central office members who are usually at the board meeting and area superintendents are attending area commission meetings tonight. So our team has fanned out across the community to make sure that we have a presence at our area commission meetings so that they can listen, learn, and hear from our community and build relationships with our community so that we know what the needs are and we can be responsive to those needs. So just want to say that the work is happening here in this room. It's also happening tonight as members of our team are fanned out across the community, and we will continue our representation at those meetings and other meetings to make sure that we're continuing to be engaged and the community has access to our team and know that we are listening and learning alongside them. Thank you, and this concludes my report.
Thank you so much. One more, Dr. Pierce.
Yes, so just in terms of that, not so much of a comment, but I think as we continue to do that work, if there are board resources that can be dispatched to help our administrative team meet our community where they are. I appreciate your efforts to having them go out into the community to attend meetings that are already scheduled to be had, that our community is not always responding to our request of a meeting, but that we are meeting them and being an active and engaged partner in those meetings. So if there are any ways that our board can be helpful or supportive of this initiative that you plan to continue, do bring that to the table and let us know. Thank you. And I think we have the copies.
We will pass those out. And yes, this is part of the authentic engagement strategy, and the board will be participating as well as we continue to ensure that we have authentic engagement with our community. So we do have the pledge, and it says, take the pledge. A safer Columbus starts with us. We believe that everyone in Columbus deserves to thrive in a safe and secure environment, whether in their homes, at work, and especially in their communities. To achieve this, we must collectively invest resources, time, and effort into supporting our communities, especially those who are most vulnerable and experiencing higher rates of crime. By standing together, we reinforce the promise of a brighter future for our children in Columbus. Together, we pledge to make a positive impact by setting a new standard, building stronger neighborhoods, empowering youth, responsible gun ownership, and enriching opportunities. And I think we have President Watson here. Would you mind coming up to the podium, since this is a part of an initiative with the NAACP? I know this was actually not on our agenda, but I would appreciate it if you would come and address us tonight. President Watson. And board members, I'll ask you to sign it.
Good evening, President Adair, Superintendent Chapman, and members of the board. Let me just say, we need you to sign that pledge. This is just not an NAACP or City of Columbus initiative. It belongs to the entire community. We've got us, we've got you. We encourage your students to take the pledge, parents also. I think I gave board member Reyes a postcard. And I think there's a QR code that you can scan. We also will be sending out a link to the pledge. Any questions?
Would you like our copies? I know you like records.
Yeah, bring them.
I'm coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, President. Oh, we're signing. You better sign it. Did you sign it?
Mine's fine.
I just did it electronically.
Did you smart?
What?
Thank you so much.
Okay, what do you want to say here to me? Thank you so much, board members. Thank you so very much. Be well.
Thank you, President Watson.
And we got you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move into item 7. Our internal auditor, you do not have a report, but do you have any announcements tonight?
I do not.
It's always good to see you, though.
Yes.
And over to our treasurer's office. Treasurer Vanover is not here, but we have Eric Roush who is filling in. Are there any announcements from the treasurer's office this evening?
No, ma'am.
All right. Item 9, we have a public hearing on reemployment of retired employee Denise James. No one has signed up to speak on that, so that will now actually close the public hearing. We will now move into our consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda consists of items 11.1 to 26.9. Are there any items a board member would like to remove for separate consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve these.
Is there a second? There's been a motion and a second. Are there any items board members would like to discuss? I have some. You have some to discuss?
So specifically in regard to 26.6, where it relates to our athletics.
The 26.6 is the fund transfer to athletics.
Yes. So while I appreciate the efforts to transfer those funds, again, I think it points to us needing to have a deeper dialogue and discussion around athletics. So again, I would like to encourage our board, our superintendent and administration to consider bringing an athletic audit to the board, to the community, so we can have a deeper conversation around our athletic spending and equity across the district.
Thank you. Are there any other items to discuss? Seeing, oh, Board Member Beckerly?
Just 26.9. There was a.
With 26.9, authority to accept a donation from the Charles Schwab Corporation?
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that this is an anonymous donation, but it's a very generous one to our marching band and Linda McKinley. And it's just a nice thing to say that somebody out there is giving them a $25,000 donation.
It's not anonymous. It's from Charles Schwab Corporation, so we thank them.
Well, I think it's a donor advised fund, so somebody who advised them to do that. And so there's somebody out there that
well, thank you.
Did something great. And we can't thank them because it's anonymous, but it's still nice.
All right, other comments? All right, please call the roll.
Dr. Pierce.
With the exception of 14.4 and 18.1, which I vote no, yes.
14.4, and I'm sorry, what was the other one?
18.1.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Vice President Vera.
Yes.
President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Mr. Brown. Yes. That motion carries.
Thank you. We will now have a motion for executive session, but before I do that, I do want to thank the staff here at Independence High School, everyone that's involved. I know that coming out to schools is challenging for everyone, and we very, very much appreciate it and appreciate you. it is not lost on me that we are also in a library when we have so much discussion about talking about our education of our students, especially around the types of material that they can read. And so I enjoyed walking around the library this evening, looking at all of the books that really are directly related to the students that we teach every day, celebrating the rich diversity that we have, and knowing that Columbus City Schools is truly a safe space for all students is incredibly important to me, and I know my colleagues as well. So thank you to everyone here at Independence High School for being fantastic hosts this evening. Vice President Vera, you have the motion for executive session.
I move that the Board of Education recess into executive session per section 121.22 G1 Ohio Revised Code to consider the appointment, employment, or compensation of public employees.
Been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Vice President Vera.
Yes.
President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Mr. Brown. Yes. Thanks, Dr. Pierce.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Thank you so much. We will now adjourn to executive session. That will conclude the televised portion of our meeting. So thank you to everyone who has joined us, and have a great rest of your evening.